when you were on the show last time, you know, I guess just kind of recap what you warned about a month ago with Tether.
Yeah,
I think we had to
like pick your jaw up when I was talking about it. So as of 2019, 50 to 90% of all crypto trades were used using Tether, which is a stable coin. So one Tether is $1 US, and it always remains that way. With inflation or otherwise, that's what it's pegged at.
And I just want to just to some people who might not be aware, if you're not really big into crypto, here's what a stable coin is. So there's the USDC, which is the United States. It's just backed again, it's 1-to-1. And people are like, well, what is it used for? So let's say you bought Bitcoin last week at 15,000, and then it just went up to it's popped. 20, so it's gone up to 20 or whatever it is. Yeah, it's at 20 or 21,000. Let's say you got it up to 20,000 and you sold it, but you put it into a stable coin rather than cash it out because you're going to hold on to it thinking Bitcoin, this might be a temporary spike. And if Bitcoin goes down again, you'll buy more. So you can actually, it's a way to increase your position of in this example, Bitcoin, without having to cash out into US dollars and back in.
And it's also used as a way for people to enter crypto markets. So a lot of exchanges, when you give money to an exchange, they put it into like US dollar Tether, and then from there you make your trades. So there's a lot of cash that gets put into it for people that are starting out or depositing cash into crypto exchanges. And that Tether, if you want to cash it out, you literally just sell your Tether, and Tether gives you cash, and you walk away, right?
And also, so to let people know this too, if you have it in Tether or any of these stable coins, you could then like buy Ethereum. You could buy
exactly
anything else with it.
So some exchanges have a hard time transferring between different platforms, and so it's a way to like, okay, I sold Bitcoin, I want to buy some Ethereum, so I just temporarily have it in Tether and bounce around that way. The way Tether was set up was their claim is that you give them cash, right? And then they take that cash and put it into like a money market account, bank account, savings account, something that will just kind of gain nominal interest and just sit there. And that they can kind of scoop off the interest off the top. That's how they make their money. And then if you need the money back, it's sitting in that account, and then they just return the money to you and you give them the coins. So in May 2021, a whole bunch of federal investigators released reports basically saying that, hey, the cash is gone. So people had given at that point, it was like $69 billion in cash to Tether, and they only found about 3 cents on the dollar left. Not only that, but they don't know who created Tether, who owns the company, where it's headquartered. All they know is that there's this one bank account in the British Virgin Islands that supposedly should have like 70, $80 billion in it, and there's like 2. And there's a lawyer who represents Tether, but he won't say who owns it and who started it and where the cash is. He said, oh, no, they're fine. That's all I keep saying. But investigations by the British, by the US, by, every other authority cannot find the money. And so what happened in this last week is Crypto.com is removing Tether from their platform. They started in Canada, and I guess sometime this month they're going to be removing it from their platform in the US. There's been lots of rumblings from insiders in the crypto markets, basically saying that, hey, there's a big giant stable coin that's about to collapse, and that could be from, let's see, how many weeks ago was it? Binance had a huge run on their platform for like a tune of like $8 billion or something, and who knows how much of that was just put into other coins and held, or how much that was put into Tether and then cashed out. And if a significant amount of that was put into Tether and cashed out, then Tether doesn't have anything left. There's nothing in their bank account. If 25% of that $8 billion run was cashed out, it's gone. So we're kind of waiting to see what that will mean for the market as a whole, because Tether has been the go-to for converting between Bitcoin to fiat currency. And if all of a sudden there's essentially no way for people to cash out, what does that, or buy in, what does that do for the crypto market in general? My guess is you will see a trap door open up and stuff will just go ka-thunk, for at least a period of time.
Yeah. And I mean, and this would be, the disaster of this would be compounded on top of what we've already had with FTX. And we've had $30 billion. Sam Bankman-Fried is in court. He put up $250 million in bail. And, you know, so as I've been covering on the show and everybody else in the crypto space is like this unraveling of FTX and its effect on the crypto markets in general are who knows how long that's going to take. So if you then add to this, whatever, $8 billion in Tether just disappearing and people another significant amount of people just losing money in the crypto space, that's really,
well, not only that is a problem, but if you look through the records of when they mint Tether coins, and they'll mint, you know, 1 billion coins at a time, a lot of those coins are never traded for cash. They're just invented out of thin air and then given to major exchanges or hedge funds to do trading with. So you might have a whole bunch of false price action on cryptocurrencies across the board that are generated from this, you know, one-to-one currency that is fake. That's just counterfeit. There's no cash backing it up. So if I am one of the secret people behind Tether and I want, like, okay, I want to get myself, you know, $1 billion in Bitcoin, I'll just mint 1 billion Tether coins and go buy $1 billion of Bitcoin. Ha ha! There's no actual cash backing it up. So there's seems to be quite a bit of evidence that groups like FTX, Binance, Genesis, Silver Lake, you know, just name one of them, have gotten windfalls of Tether coins that are in the billions each that were never backed up by cash and were used to facilitate trades by insiders in those groups. So if you're looking at let's just say this last week, we saw it go from 16 to 2021 or whatever for Bitcoin. What are the chances that a lot of the buying action happened because someone printed billions of dollars in Tether coins and just went out and caused, you know, a bunch of high bids on Bitcoin to pump it up? We have no clue because we can't find the cash that should back up all those transactions.
Yeah, that is the problem with this. The exchanges, the unregulated, basically the exchanges, for people watching, the exchanges in crypto are unregulated banks, which is why I've been saying on this show for 2.5 years, what I've heard other shows say, which is use the exchanges to buy and sell and then get it off of the exchanges and get it onto a cold wallet. And this is an example of why you should do that. And what I just read something interesting. Actually, I was watching the show Altcoin Daily and they were talking about, is this pump, this recent jump from 16 to 21 in a short amount of time, is it a real bull run or is it what they call a bear trap? And one crypto analyst put out that 66% of Bitcoin has been sitting on cold wallets. It hasn't been moving. And so there's not as much volume. And they made a point of, when there's less volume, it's easier to manipulate a market, which someone could very easily be doing, maybe with Tether, as you're saying, or with any number of ways that they could be doing this.
Yeah. So, and the hedge funds, when we were seeing the meme stock boom in 2021, especially, we saw a lot of shit coins get pumped like crazy overnight. Was a CXC coin. It was like April 2021, went from 9 cents to $3,000 in 2 hours. It made all these hedge funds all of a sudden look like they're worth $400 billion, right? Like that. And all the trades is between a hedge fund in New York and a hedge fund in Chicago, just bouncing back and forth for an hour, jacking the price up there. And if you are a hedge fund and you are underwater on a whole bunch of stock trades, a great way to avoid margin is to increase the entire net value of your hedge fund by pumping a shit coin. And you'd see it would happen with, you know, Shiba Inu, Saitama, whatever. Like you would see these pumps happen almost monthly on just on another random coin, and then kind of die off. And so, you know, how much manipulation is happening if a lot of these coins, 90% of the ownership is in just a handful of people.
And it's, again, not backed by anything. I mean, this is also, I mean, this is such an excuse me, is I was watching also Michael Saylor speak, and he goes, this is what, so there's always going to be corruption. There's always going to be greed, and people are always going to, and this, again, FTX did this. They printed their own FTT coin, wasn't backed by anything. And what FTX specifically did was took investor money and didn't hold it. They gambled it. they gambled it. So there's like two things. There's gambling with investor money, and then just creating coins out of thin air. And it's really interesting too, is because I'm watching some of the exchanges that got tied up with this. So BlockFi, which I thought, well, they had an interesting product out there. They had a credit card you could earn Bitcoin back in rewards, right? So I've always been, since I've been doing this, talking crypto on this show for 2.5 years, I've been looking at ways to like, how do I earn Bitcoin without having to buy it? Which is like, oh, that's cool. You just run your bills through this. Well, BlockFi, of course, loaned a bunch of money to FTX. And I'm like, oh, initially it sounds like, oh, BlockFi just got burned. But now I'm reading BlockFi, which still owes people money, myself included. I only have about $500-600 in Bitcoin over there. I pulled it all off in the spring, and I bought some Bitcoin like November 2nd. And then I just wasn't paying attention when the FTX thing happened. I was like, oh shit. And I just found out the BlockFi executives, a couple of them still got their $500,000 end of the year bonuses.
Of course. Yeah.
And it's like, this shit, man, this is why Bitcoin was invented, is so we could just own it, keep it ourselves, have our own bank. You and I buy and sell, give it to each other, buy something for, we don't involve a bank or an exchange or any of this shit. And when they come in, they're just greedy, corrupt assholes, no matter what it is.
And those exchanges, they'll entice you to keep your money on their exchange by staking and things like that. So you know, you'll see, even like on Binance, they'll have some shit coin that is, you know, I don't know, $0.000000000251, right? And they'll say, hey, if you stake this crappy coin with us, we'll give you a 32% return.
Right.
And that's what FTX was doing with a lot of stuff. And that way you put your money in there, and they just basically manipulate your account statement and just say, oh yeah, there's 30% in there. And hoping that you'll never take it out, which is a Ponzi scheme. And that's what Bernie Madoff was doing. He was like, oh yeah, you'll get 15% a year if you keep money with me. Just, you know, if you take it out, don't. Like, so you know, as long as they can entice you to keep your money in there because you're getting good returns, they're just going to steal it from you. And
they're all doing this too. I mean, crypto.com has, you know, if you buy, and I did this because I wanted to try it out 2 years ago. If you bought their CRO coin, what they call the Crow coin, and you stake it with them, you were getting 10%. Now you're getting 4%. And I'm like, that coin just got close to the number I bought it at. I liquidated most of it. And I was like, I'm pulling out of these altcoins, and I'm going to put most of this money back into Bitcoin and put it on my cold wallet and sit on it, because this kind of stuff is, and this is why Bitcoin was created. And I always try to explain to people when they're like, oh, crypto's all a scam. And I go, Bitcoin, no. Bitcoin lives on the blockchain. It doesn't have a CEO that can be arrested. It doesn't, you can't corrupt it. You can only make 21 million of these coins can ever be made. You can't just print fake coins and put them out there like these pump and dump scams. And you see why the Bitcoin maximalists, some of them, Max Kaiser being one of them, who I had on the show, was like, don't go near the altcoins because they're so easily scammable.
Yeah, I as a joke, so my third show ever was basically calling crypto the Wild West, and just talking about how Tether was going to collapse, and when it does collapse, it's going to be the craziest, biggest financial scandal maybe ever when it happens. And then I minted my own coin called Problemo Coin, because my show is called Here's to a Problem, and I minted 100 million of them, and I was going to give them away to like my Patreon subscribers, but it was done on the Ethereum platform. And the problem is the gas fees are so insane that if I wanted to give them away, it's going to cost me $100,000 just to give them to people for free. So they've been sitting in my account for like 1.5 years, and I can't do anything with them because I can't afford to give this stupid joke coin away to people. And you know, people are like, oh well, the Ethereum 2.0 is going to come out, and it still hasn't come out. And then there's like layer 2 of that Loopring is created, and it won't accept my Ethereum joke coin to go to layer 2, so I can't cheaply give it away to people. So I'm just stuck with these 100 million coins. But it took me, I don't know, an hour to get the code, change it enough for myself, and hit enter, and boom, I just made a whole bunch of coins. Now, I wish I had made, I don't know, 100 billion coins that called stable coins, and then just cashed out for $100 billion by, you know, posting it to an exchange of some kind, and then selling it to people for $1. Like, it seems like a brilliant scam. Absolutely brilliant.
You see how easily you could just scam people. So let me ask you this: knowing that there's this like looming Tether bomb, anyone out there that's using Tether or on the exchanges right now, or has money sitting, what would you advise anybody watching this show right now on how to protect themselves so they don't get caught up in yet another scam?
I would look at the exchange you're in and see if they have like legal language that tells you how they convert from whatever coin you're in into cash, because people do need cash. Like, you know, you might be investing in Bitcoin, but oh, I got a mortgage payment, or I have to, you know, buy gasoline. Like right now, you can't just swipe your Bitcoin magic phone card and get gasoline at the gas station. So I would look at how they work when they convert to cash, and if it is through a process where they, like, you know, like say you have $10,000 in Ethereum and you want to cash it out, do they first go to Tether without you knowing and then convert it in that process and the cash shows up your account? Or do they have a conversion through a different stable coin, or just directly just through their own bank, just give you the cash for it? I would look into that, because if your exchange does an automatic transaction with Tether when cashing out, your exchange might not exist anymore if it comes time. And so you may have to move everything to a new exchange or whatever to get that done. That's what I'd look at. I personally have not dug deep into that legalese, so I don't know which exchanges, but it sounds like crypto is moving away from that, because I think that they're like, we won't survive if we keep doing transactions with Tether. Yeah,
well, crypto.com has moved away from them, and I after watching this, I just started doing more research. Crypto.com posted this thing of this organization that did an outside audit and said that all of Crypto.com's major assets they had that amount backed up. Like they had 102%. And that was like, cool. And then I looked a little closer on that, and then that audit got redacted. Yeah. And that organization said, we don't do these audits anymore. That gave me a huge red flag about crypto.com.
Yeah. And the audits are weird though. The one that was done for FTX, I think it was this summer, basically said like, this is the audit. They told us they have this. And I was like, yeah. So like, you know, oh, they said they have this. That's the extent of our entire audit. So it's not like forensic accountants are really digging in deep or anything.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. And when they redacted their audit, I was like, that is a huge red flag. And that's when I was like, oh, I'm not the only currency I had on crypto.com was their currency that I was staking. And I was like, it just bumped up a little bit, liquidate, done. Because we're talking about Bernie Madoff. I've been, just watched the Netflix documentary. Yep. And one of the things they went into in that documentary, everybody watch that if you can, because it isn't just what he did. It's all of the people around them and the institutions, specifically the SEC. You talk about that audit of FTX. The SEC did the exact same thing. They called Bernie Madoff up and said, hey, we heard you're some scams going on. Is that true? And he goes, absolutely not. And they went, good enough for us.
Exactly. Yeah.
And there's this guy that they interviewed who's like put together a case in like 2001. Yeah. And the SEC laughed him out of the office. And there was 7 years because the Madoff case,
29 red flags he had listed or something.
29.
Yeah.
And they didn't finally catch Madoff till 2008. There was 7 years the SEC could have prevented happening.
And if the market had never collapsed, then he would still be going.
No,
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And so it's really why I implore people to dig deep. And again, if you own crypto, get it on a cold wallet if you haven't already. If you don't know what a cold wallet is, go online and learn what they are, learn how to set them up. Because that's the whole point of Bitcoin specifically. Read the Bitcoin white paper, was that we all get to be our own banks.
Pulling it and putting onto a hard wallet is a great way to expose the bad exchanges too. Because the first big scam I read about was there was a South Korean Bitcoin exchange that had sold billions, say $5 billion in Bitcoin. Never actually got a Bitcoin for anybody, but would entice them to remain on the exchange through staking and stuff like that. And then they just closed up shop, took everyone's $5 billion. And it was fake. And what SBF was doing at FTX, he started selling people fake Bitcoin that didn't exist. And so if you're being sold Bitcoin doesn't exist and you try to pull out, they're going to have to take it from someone else's account, put it into yours, and boom. And then somebody else, if that person says, oh, I take it out, they go, oh, crap, we just took yours. We don't have any for you. And it collapses these funds. There was an auditor for Binance who he had kind of a similar, like, we audited, they told us to have this, but we weren't allowed to dig any deeper. And he wrote a letter basically saying, like, I don't trust anything out of Binance at this point. I don't think they have your coins. And then we saw like 8 people get indicted from there. So I wouldn't doubt if they're doing the exact same thing FTX was doing. It's just that, it becomes this dog eat dog competition between the scammers, and we'll see where that ends up.
Yeah, it's funny because like the whole point, if you read the Bitcoin white paper, was that we could all be our own banks.
Yeah.
And not have to use the central banks. And then the central banks and the scammers set up these exchanges. And like you say, part of it is that mass adoption isn't there yet. We can't just go, just tap our phone and buy gas. You know what I mean? We can't just, Apple Pay, boom, with Bitcoin and go to the grocery store. So until that happens, these exchanges are there. And I don't trust big business people at all. And again, there's billions of, I don't trust human nature. I'm sorry. I don't. And when that kind of money's involved, like you said, you printed out 100,000 of these coins, or whatever, $100,000 or whatever. What was it?
100 million Problemo coins.
Yes. 100 million coins. And
I think it cost me like $70 in Ethereum to produce. Yeah.
And you could have, if you had some backing behind you, you could have spent the $100,000 to ship them around and then get people to buy. Like you could have thought, if you were nefarious in any way,
I could have posted it to Uniswap and posted 500 coins with 30 Ethereum backing it up, right? And all of a sudden, the value of that coin would be the 500 coins versus 30 Ethereum, and that would be the exchange rate. And you get 2 or 3 exchanges going on, trades going on. All of a sudden, they'll get posted to Coinbase or Crypto.com or whatever. Like it'll be a coin that gets traded regularly between these market makers. It's silly, like how easy you can do it with just $30,000, $40,000. Yeah. And you
could turn $30,000 into tens or hundreds of millions of dollars in scam money.
Yeah.
And then borrow against it, get one of these companies to loan you money because they think you're the hot kid on the block or whatever. And then, wow.
Yeah. When Shiba Inu popped, what was that, September of 2021? So Shiba Inu popped. The wallets basically showed that like 90% of all Shiba Inu was owned by one person. And every hour on the hour during that explosion, he was dropping $1 million, selling out $1 million at a time of Shiba Inu for like 2 weeks. So, price went right back down again. But that was probably because that single person pumped it, and that single person made several hundred million, if not several billion dollars during that 2 week period. just dumping every hour $1 million worth of Shiba Inu.
And his name is Elon Musk.
Yeah.
that's I wouldn't put it past him. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. We are still in our like 9th month of demonetization from YouTube. So support what we're doing at patreon.com/Graham Elwood or rockfin.com/Graham Elwood, which is a blockchain cryptocurrency platform. It's free to sign up, and there's a premium level at $10 a month. And for that, you get everybody on the platform's premium content. Myself, Lee Camp, Ron Placone, Jimmy Dore, Whitney Webb, Kim Iverson, Abby Martin, and many, many others. You can also support what we're doing at Venmo at Graham-Elwood and go to GrahamElwood.com. We have a PayPal button and a PO box. I also have crypto wallets, which are all in the show notes. Thanks for supporting what we do.